Good day, everybody. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another What's This Then? Today, we are asking a little about Borderlands 4. Latest game in the Borderlands series, as you might imagine, with that little 4 on the end there. Been a little while in development, this one. Borderlands as a series felt like it was kind of... Well, it had somewhat of a big misstep with Borderlands 3. The gameplay was the best it had ever been in that one. But... yeah, the story, yeah, it was just not it. The references, the humor, the villain characters, Troy and Tyrene, I think they were called. They were just not fun, and the usual having to stop to listen to various characters chat away about something thing, you know, was getting a bit old, and then you add some very annoying antagonists on top of that, and it just became very aggravating to play. I actually did a replay of it about 6 months ago, and I used a mod that let me skip the dialogue, and it was a lot of fun. I had a good old time. Yeah, we're here with Borderlands 4. Big claim to fame on this one is that they have gone open world with it. And whether that is going to be a good thing for the series or a bad thing remains to be seen. I've got some thoughts in that regard. Got some thoughts. But before we jump into it, we're gonna hop into the options, as we always do, and I'll talk a little bit about performance, because it is one of the big sort of gripes with this game currently. If you look at the Steam reviews, they're currently sitting at mixed, like 40-something% because of them. So we'll be talking about that. Let's hop on in. Settings-wise, like in terms of the actual menu of settings, this is some of the most impressive like stuff I've seen in a settings menu. We'll have a look at why in a second here. So, basic visuals. You've got all your sort of stuff. Display mode, resolution, you know, you can do your full screen. So, right off the bat, right off rip, this game runs better and feels more responsive in full screen compared to Borderless Windowed. And this shouldn't be the case if you're on Windows 11. It should be the case that Borderless Windowed and full screen feel exactly the same. That was like one of the big things about Windows 11 when it came to, I believe, DirectX and how they sort of communicated with each other and how Windows seen windowed applications and stuff like that. Unfortunately for Borderlands, it doesn't seem to be the case. I've played about 7 hours of this so far, and I was fighting with the settings, essentially, to try and get the game into like an enjoyable state. And I was playing on Borderless Windowed, and then I seen someone talk about how full screen makes the game run a wee bit better, feel a bit better, and I decided to try that out. Tested it out for about 5-10 minutes here before recording this video, and yeah, it feels nicer. It's not like a huge bump, but the input delay difference is quite nice. Resolutions, you've got all your, you know, everything you probably need in there. Limit frame rate, and then you've got sliders in increments of 10. Which is nice. This is pretty good. I like this. I've capped it at 120. I've honestly rarely been in a case where I feel like my FPS would ever go above this to a reasonable degree. So 120 is where I'm kind of keeping it at. VSync, I always have it off. You can calibrate your display, HUD area, field of view, cranked it up to 100, starts at 90, and you've also got a vehicle field of view, which is always nice as well. And then with most of these tabs, they have an advanced tab as well. Player changes, no, don't want to do that. So advanced, this is where all our like actual graphical settings are here. So you've got your preset, you know, you've got your very high and a badass setting and all that sort of stuff. Then you've got like a auto detect, so you can have it do its thing for you, but wouldn't really recommend that. Anti-aliasing, can't obviously turn that off if you've got like upscaling, and you are probably going to be needing upscaling depending on what your target frame rate and stuff like that is. For me, when it comes to single player games, I should be able to hit 120 with what I have. And that's a 4090 and a 7800X3D at 4K. I expect to be able to hit 120 in a single player game. Now, if I have to use a little bit of DLSS to get there, that's fine. I don't feel like I should have to use frame gen, though. And in this game, I feel like I have to use frame gen. Which sucks, because frame gen adds input delay, it adds artifacting, it adds weird visual anomalies. So, and this is with DLSS unbalanced as well. Like, this isn't a typical case of this is just a demanding game and things are moving on, and you know, if you want that higher end, you need to upgrade and stuff like that. Like, this game doesn't really have any right running this bad. It feels like they've gone to open world, and they didn't know quite how to optimize it well enough. That's what it feels like so far, and that the only reason they're able to release it in this state is because of things like DLSS and FrameGen kind of being this band-aid fix for these sorts of problems today. I have no doubt that if the developers were given all the time and money in the world, they would have made this game run like a dream. But this is how it goes in this video game industry today, the AAA side of it anyway, is that usually publishers will be like, we are running out of money and time, so put it out there. Don't care. You can't have more money. No, we need money. Anyway. Oh, also, this game, I believe, does feature de novo, which was a big negative of Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3, on my replay, ran like a dream. Absolutely glorious, smooth as hell. That was after they removed de novo. And de novo, on launch of Borderlands 3, caused quite a bit of stuttering, micro-stuttering. I haven't noticed any real micro-stuttering in this, when like walking around in the open world and just doing like general gameplay and stuff, unlike in Borderlands 3. I've only really noticed it when you load into like a sort of a major new area and it's clearly loading assets and stuff. So I don't know how much de novo is impacting performance. I don't know if de novo just does a raw like 10%, 20%, performance decrease, or if that micro stuttering from Borderlands 3 was really what we were impacting there, but de novo sucks. De novo sucks. I mean, these games are gonna get cracked in like a day anyway, whether you put de novo on it or not. So all it really is doing is just hurting people who are buying the game normally. So, that does suck. I hope they remove that sooner rather than later, because I know they will remove it at some point. And that's the thing, right? Like, if de novo doesn't cause performance issues, then why would you ever need to remove it, Unless there's like a licensing thing, I'm not sure. I haven't really looked too far into it. Anyway, so you've got all that. You've got your low latency, screen capture quality, stuff like that. And then you've got all your like actual individual settings. Like your loading range on assets, geometry, quality, all this I've kind of... So let me do this so I can show you what I'm actually using. Because I clicked that button before. So this is the kind of settings I've kind of landed on, and it's pretty decent for me. Okay, it's very playable. One of the things I've turned on is volumetric fog. I remember in Borderlands 3, this was a big killer of performance. So I sort of have preemptively turned it down here. Because in 3, it looked no different. Like, literally no different. I think there was like 1 or 2 instances where a few like clouds and stuff looked a wee bit different, but that was about it. So maybe there'll be some areas where this will have a bigger visual impact and stuff, but I'm turning it down. It murdered performance in 3, and I did notice it gave me maybe about a 10 FPS jump in this, roughly. It's hard to say with the open world nature of it. And then you've got like post-processing stuff and like motion blur. Turn that right off. Yeah, that's that. Pretty good. A lot of good options there. I just wish we didn't have to take such a hammer to them to get a performance that was working. And I've seen some people say the performance is fine for them. This is going to depend on your setup, your tolerance, stuff like that. Because, like I said, it's just that... It's not that I'm noticing stuttering. It's not that I'm noticing hitching, anything like that. It is just... the number doesn't seem to go as high as I feel like it should do for how this game looks and the hardware I'm running it on. So, maybe you'll be fine with whatever number you're getting. Audio, you've got master music, sound effects, dialogue, blah, blah, blah. Audio presets, these are pretty nice. I like that they list them over on the right here. There's one thing I have to give Gearbox, is their menus are always really nice. They're always laid out very efficiently, and they always show you, like, what stuff does and how it actually affects what you're doing and all that sort of stuff. So I like that a lot. Now they have an advanced tab for audio. Now this is interesting. This is where I was saying that the settings in here have some of the most impressive things I've seen. Especially when it comes to like accessibility stuff. So you've got force mono. And it says here on the right, for players to help with like who have hearing loss in one ear, spatial disorientation, stuff like that. So that's already nice. And then you've got like your mix presets. Now these are really interesting because it's got like hypercausus relief, reduces mid and high frequencies that can sometimes cause pain or discomfort for players with sound sensitivity. I have never seen any of this in a game before. Like maybe there has been other games with it, but I don't remember what they are if I've never seen them before. But yeah, this is like you have an actual ear condition. We have put a setting in the game that can help you with that. which is really, really nice. Like, this is super cool stuff. Softens the sound that may trigger strong negative reactions, such as mouth noises, keyboard clicks, or other irritating sounds. Like, that's just really good to put in there. Insane stuff. And then it also lets you trim certain things. It lets you get more granular, essentially, in this menu. So you can turn game music down specifically, or menu music, or cinematic music down specifically, boss music specifically. Players, you can turn down the weapon noises specifically, outgoing damage. Like, all those individual noises. And then dialogue, you can do player callouts, idle lines, specifically claptrap if you want. So I do like the claptrap question mark. They've really leaned into the, hey, no one likes claptrap anymore, do they? Hey, part for this one. But yeah, really, really cool stuff. This is awesome. Controls in here, you've got all your sensitivities, invert look, toggles, aiming, all that sort of good stuff. Everything you'd want in there. And you can go into advanced, and this lets you invert certain aspects of it or do certain dead zone stuff, which is interesting. I only ever see this sort of stuff in like multiplayer shooters, like sort of competitive stuff, where you need that granularity to be well, just a lot of people like it, essentially, in those sorts of games. It becomes more important. And then you've got rebindable keys, as you might imagine, and you've got rebindable controller stuff as well, which is very nice. There's even some presets if you don't want to mess around with it too much and just sort of see what they've got going on. But yeah, really cool to see. We hop into gameplay. You've got stuff like censor gore, show tutorials. You can reset the tutorials if you've missed any of them. The tutorials do pop up at really inopportune times sometimes, so I could understand why someone would actually want to do this. I've had a couple of times where I've been in a fight and then just a little menu appears over on the right and I barely notice it, and, you know, by the time the fight's done, it's like I'm just starting to read it and then it disappears. That's happened a couple of times already. They've got this echolocation path visibility, so there's a button that sort of shows you the path to your nearest objective, or to whatever objective you've got tracked. This feels like somewhat of a thing from the fact that it's open world and you don't want players getting lost, so you can just hit a button and it'll show you like, hey, go this way to that quest. HUD, you've got like reticle position, centered and offset, sort of like Halo. I am a centered enjoyer, will never use offset if possible. And then you've got all sorts of stuff, compass, vertical indicators, all that sort of stuff. Network and social, this is just, you know, shift and friend stuff, communication, voice chat, push to talk, input device, output device. You can, it's got streaming and privacy, you can hide local names and all that sort of stuff. And then accessibility, you've got stuff like subtitles, and it's also got some of that audio and visual stuff sort of put into it over here as well, but there's also extra stuff like, you know, being able to change like the coloring of stuff, damage numbers if you want them off, menu text scaling, high contrast reticule, you know, if you have trouble seeing it. Gameplay, you can do like map zoom speed, vibration, adaptive triggers if you're on if you're on a DualSense controller. Yeah, head bob, grapple view tilt, because whenever you grapple up, there's a grapple hook in this one, although it's not that cool. We'll talk about that. It sort of takes control of your aim a little bit, so that gives you something like that. Mantle with forward, stuff like that. So yeah, really, really good options menu. Big fan of what they've got going on here. Lots of really cool options. Now, let's actually load into the game. I am level 13, playing as Vex. She is the Siren this time around. She is... I'll usually start a character in a Borderlands game. I like a character that has, like, minions, that has turrets, that has something that goes out and, like, helps them in the fight. You know, so in the first Borderlands, it would have been Mordecai, because he had, was it Bloodwing? Borderlands 2, I believe I started with Axton because he had the turret. And then Gage. I was a big fan of Gage after that DLC dropped and stuff like that. But yeah. Welcome to... This is kind of like a little hub area that we've got going on here at the minute. So let me actually get out of here so I can show you it. But yeah. Pretty looking game. The art style of Borderlands continues to impress. It's... I really enjoy the look of Borderlands. Sometimes the characters' faces and stuff like that can look a wee bit like strange whenever the cell shading gets particularly like crazy and stuff. But I think overall the actual like, you know, vistas and stuff like that, especially with this open world, a lot bigger areas. You know, it's a lot It is definitely a lot cooler to look at these areas and just go like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I can just head all over there and do all that sort of stuff. So you may be noticing the HUD is looking quite clean this time around. There's a few extra buttons on there. There's a few extra gameplay things going on. Before I jump into that, let's actually open up the inventory so I can show you that. So we'll start from left to right on this. So mission screen, this is like sort of your, you just track everything. You got challenges. You've got contracts, which are just sort of little almost passive things for you to do while you're out in the open world. These range from just go kill this guy to literally do just horrible fetch quests. I don't know why they thought this would be a good idea. I would rather just not see these. But they do just scream, we have an open world and we have to fill it with stuff. Unfortunately. Like, it's just go kill 10 of these. That's it. It's just a passive number go up type system. It's not very interesting. It's not very engaging. It just sort of happens in the background. It feels like a band-aid solution to, hey, we have an open world now and we have to fill it out with stuff. I would have liked to have seen more side missions, more actually like interactive, like character-based, stuff like actual objectives to do that have their own little stuff going on. Because Borderlands had no shortage of side missions in the past, so I feel like you could fill out an open world pretty nicely with those. But I'm hoping these don't become too pervasive over normal side missions and stuff. There's also this really cool thing. Now this is pretty awesome. Replay. You can actually just replay any mission you want. Now, it seems there are some that you can't. I think this is from, like, I think just certain missions. I'm not sure. So this is the first time I've actually seen that there are non-replayable ones. I'm trying to figure out why these wouldn't be, but yeah, certain ones you can just replay. Maybe it's ones like have an actual like effect on the map or something like that. But yeah, you can replay most missions, which is really nice. So if there's a specific reward from a mission that you like, you can replay it at any level you want, and then you'll get the reward for your level. So that's really cool. Map. It is open world. So this is the map. It is a pretty large map so far. This area that I've been sort of running around in has felt fairly large. I would assume, I am going to assume that there will be other areas beyond this. I don't know if they'll have like a whole other map, or they'll have maybe some side areas that will be attached to this map or something like that. If this is the entire map, like the whole game is happening here, that does feel a little bit small compared to other Borderlands games. But I'll have to see how that plays out. That's very much where the fact that this is a first impressions, I can't properly convey how that map feels, but initial impressions are that it feels good so far. I'm optimistic about the size of this map. Now, it has been filled out with a lot of open world stuff, I guess. Ubisofting, I guess. Just, just here, go collect that collectible thing. Go find this collectible thing. There's another collectible thing. There's another collectible thing. There's another one, there's just loads of different types of collectibles, and there's just side missions scattered around and all this sort of stuff. I will say they are tied to your storage deck upgrades this time around, so actual upgrading of like your backpack size and stuff. You get the currency to do this from finding those collectibles, and among various other things. So going and finding them is an actual like good incentive. Like, I want to find these things because I want these backpack upgrades, especially, or I want these like ammo upgrades and storage upgrades and stuff. I want those. So it does feel good to go out and get them, because they're actually giving you some tangible like reward, which is nice. They're not just there for the sake of checklisting, which is, can't stand checklisting in an open world. I hate just ticking off a box for the sake of ticking off a box. Like Assassin's Creed, what was it, 2 or Brotherhood, that just had the like 100 feathers, and that was it. Just that was like the whole thing. Pretty sure, if I remember right, I'm pretty sure there was no like reward for that. It was just that there are like 100 feathers scattered around the map. Go find them. Hate that sort of stuff. Absolutely no interest. But as soon as you put something like this around it, some interesting like upgrade system that actually is worth going out and getting, then I'm a big fan. Inventory. Let's have a look here. The screen will look somewhat familiar. So you've got your 4 weapon slots. You'll notice I have all 4 weapon slots. If you're familiar with Borderlands, having all 4 right away probably is like, huh? What's going on here? This is one of the biggest strengths of Borderlands 4. because it's open world, or presumably because it's open world, it feels more hands off in terms of the story railroading you to certain places and certain, like, you know, barriers and all that sort of stuff. So this is level gated now. So I just leveled up. I think I got to like level 10 or something, and then I unlocked the fourth slot, and I got there quite fast. Although I will say getting to level 10 felt a bit slower than other Borderlands games, but we'll see. I'm not sure what the max level is. Yeah, so I have all 4 weapon slots already. These 2 slots, I'm not sure what they do yet. Probably one's going to be like class mods and stuff like that. They're probably going to be mission story gated, I would have to imagine. Because it doesn't show like a level yet. But yeah, got all 4 of those already. Pretty cool. You'll notice that you can't see your backpack here. That's over here. So you'll notice I have some legendaries. Those are just from pre-ordering. I've not found these legendaries already. They've actually toned that down a lot from this one, apparently. You won't be finding legendaries nearly as often as you did in 3. Yeah, so you can filter, you can do sorting, you can flip around the order. Very, very nice stuff there. Really like that. I think they separated these 2 screens so that they could give you more control over how you sort them from here. And you can still like, say, click here and then equip that. You know, do it like that. So it's not like, you know, you can click here and then be like, oh, I'll swap that out for this sort of thing. Only problem with this part of the menu is it doesn't show me, like, how is it compared to this weapon, you know? But you can do that from equipment, whereas if you click here, then it opens up here and brings it all up, and then you can do the comparison. So I don't know why it doesn't do that from the backpack, but it does do it from equipment. It's a wee bit weird. But yeah, so I actually quite like that they've separated these 2 out and just made this a lot cleaner and more center stage. You notice here, rewards. This is your quest rewards. So whenever you complete a mission, oh, I've got some shift thing as well, apparently, and some ornate packs. I'm not sure what's going on with those. Those weren't there yesterday. But like, I completed one of the bounties where I had to go kill a guy. Or I had to go kill a bunch of people. So this is the reward. Now, normally in another Borderlands game, this would just get thrown into your inventory, and, you know, good luck finding it if, you know, you haven't looked in your inventory in a while. You can just claim it, and it'll show you. This is what you got. And then you can equip it straight from this menu, or you can close out, and then it's just in your inventory. Cool stuff. Really, really like that. It's a good change, good quality of life. You can even hold R to open them all if you really want to. Just go crazy. Ecologs, you've got this here. This is just, yeah, you find ecologs as you walk around. It's one of the collectibles. You can just replay them if you wish. Actually feels like the ecologs actually feel... This sort of thing feels a lot better in an open world setting because I can run around and actually like shoot stuff and just do stuff while listening to these rather than it most likely going to get cut off by someone talking in a story-related fashion. Let's have a look at the skills menu. It's visually looking quite different, but for the most part, it's very similar to past entries. They have said that this is the most amount of skills they've ever offered, and yeah, I would tend to say they're wider. Maybe not necessarily as like tall, but a lot wider, and especially because they sort of split. I'm not sure if every character's does this, but this is at least what Vex's does, where it splits into kind of like 3 categories depending on what you kind of want to specialize into. So this action skill that I have, it lets me, I press F and I go into this like kind of summoning stance, and I can press left click to summon a Reaper, that's a melee summon, or right click to spawn a Spectre, that's a gun summon, it's a range summon. And if I want to specialize into the Spectres, which is what I'm doing for gun damage and stuff, I can go down like the left side of the tree, which is all about like gun damage and buffing them up, or I can go down the middle tree, which is all about the melee ones, or I can go down this right tree, which is kind of like a hybrid of both. Doesn't necessarily make either one as strong as it could be, but makes both quite strong. And then from Borderlands 3, you had this like system where not only did you put in passives, but you also had like augmentations to your actual skill. These still exist here, so they're this here. So I've got Gas Blaster, so minions, when I summon them in, they shoot out a little gas blast, does like a bunch of damage. Every time they reload, it shoots another one. So that's over here on the left. You can see it's an augment. And then down at the bottom, your capstones. These are like the big skills that really change your ability or can like really impact your power, your level of power. So you can only have one of these. So I can put this in here, and it gives one of my Spectres a copy of my gun, which if you played Zane in Borderlands 3 at all, you know that's a very strong ability, considering it does 100% of your damage. So you just give them an overpowered gun, and now you have 2 overpowered guns shooting someone. Very strong. We only have one of those, of course, at a time. I haven't really dabbled into the other trees yet. So far, this tree has felt pretty fun. I really enjoy it. We'll have to see. That I obviously can't speak too far on, but so far seems good. They're still respecking. You still have to pay, I think it's 10% of whatever your current amount of money is at one of the hub areas, and you can respec and do your thing. Whenever you're actually placing points, you can immediately undo it. So as soon as you click, as long as you don't leave the menu, you can undo it, which is quite nice. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that screen. SDU, and then you've got like customization. This is where you can do your entire character's thing. They have taken out the new U stations. So I can just go in here and like change some stuff and be like, hey, let's have her look like that now. Also shows you like a preview. Oh, this must be like a pre-order thing, maybe. Yeah. It's I like that this is just here in this now, that you don't have to go somewhere just to do that. There's also weapon and vehicle stuff, that's all in here as well. Echo 4. Instead of having your like Echo device, it's just a little robot now. But yeah. I think that's enough menus. Let's have a look. Well, I say that's enough menus, and I'm going to open a menu. Let's see. What contracts do I have to do? So I can go and kill some of a particular type of animal, essentially. But we'll head on up here. Now, one aspect of this being an open world game is that they have given us a vehicle that we can use whenever we want. So you just hit X, and you now just summon this, the bike, and you can just ride around, jump around, it's got guns on it. You can boost the bike for getting around the open world. I haven't felt like this is super necessary. Like, if I know there's somewhere really far away and I haven't been there before, then I can use it to get over there pretty quick. But for the most part, there's like enough stuff in between that I feel like I want to be jumping off and like actually, you know, engaging with like the world around me, which is good. I don't want to feel like I don't want to engage with this world. My one sort of major criticism of the open world so far is that it doesn't feel like there's a lot to really, like, find yourself. It all feels very signposted, which is a bit of a shame. Maybe there is stuff out there, like, maybe there is, like, really super hidden stuff. Maybe I just haven't come across any of that sort of thing yet, but it's not like... You know, my favorite open worlds are... My favorite open world, essentially, is going to be something like Elden Ring, where you're told where nothing really is, and it's just all on you to kind of go out there and uncover it all. You know, who knows what you'll find around that next corner. Whereas in this game, it's like, I don't know what I'll find around that next corner, but I know there's something around that next corner. Because the map tells me. Because it's got a question mark on it, you know? But yeah, the shooting feels good. The shooting feels really good. Gameplay-wise, so I feel like every major Borderlands has had a pretty sizable sort of mechanical gameplay bump in quality. So Borderlands 1 to Borderlands 2 was just absolutely massive, in my opinion. Although I've heard some people say they don't really notice it that much, which I'm quite surprised about, because I feel like Borderlands 2 plays significantly better. And I'm talking about stuff like just the way the guns handle, the visual recoil of how it all happens, the impact of how the bullets hit enemies and stuff like that. It's just a lot nicer as they've sort of gone up. This feels like the least biggest jump, to be honest. And I don't count like pre-sequel, and I don't count Wonderlands, because they're not sort of next major iterations. They're mostly like side iterations, kind of like Far Cry 3 to Blood Dragon type stuff. So, but this is the least big jump that I felt. Borderlands 3 and this, in terms of gameplay, feel very similar. Like the detailing on the guns, the environments, all that sort of stuff. It's all very similar in that regard. Obviously, this one's gone open world, so in terms of that, it's a big change. Let's see, I'll show you some of my action ability here, so I can summon in some specters. They have ranged weapons that they're shooting. I'll summon in a Reaper to go around. I haven't really spec'd into the Reaper, so it doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's a nice distraction from my specters, so they can shoot stuff. Now, I said we had a grapple hook when we were looking at the settings earlier. You can do a couple of different things. Unfortunately, it is not a free-form grapple, where you can just sort of grapple anything and zip around the place. It's preset locations and items like this, so you can grab, like, barrels and stuff and, like, chuck them around. And not sure if there's going to be any around here. This doesn't look too vertical. So you get Oh, I always hit F to do melee. I don't know what game has got me hitting F to do melee. Oh, here we go. There's one. So you can use grapple and, like, do stuff like this. You know? Like, it's good verticality. Like, it is good. It does make me wish that we had a freeform one, though, and we could kind of do whatever we want. Here we've got some enemies summoning in, so we'll spawn a little Spectre up there. I love spawning, like, all 3 Spectres, like, up in an area like this, creating, like, a little firing squad. Very, very satisfying to do. Let's hop out my shotgun here. So there's a couple of new manufacturers of weapons as well, as you might imagine. There's, like, Order. There's Rippers. They're, like, kind of like the bandits. The shotgun does a lot of damage and has a lot of ammo in the mag, so you just hold down left click, goes kind of crazy. The Order weapon's probably got to be my least favorite new addition. Their whole thing is that you can hold left click to charge up the shot before you fire, and then it shoots all the shots at kind of once, or it does like a big burst fire. They feel kind of pointless because you can just left click faster than the charge happens, and the charge doesn't add like any damage. So maybe there'll be ones that add some properties to the charge. That would be nice. There's also a healing stem, which is very different. I keep forgetting to use it because it's just not in the muscle memory at all for Borderlands. But this has got to be another thing to do with the open world. Just, you can't guarantee that you're going to find healing everywhere because there might not be containers everywhere because there literally can't be in an open world. Oh, artillery, no, let's get rid of you. Oh, leveled up as well. Very nice. So I can show you that. Yeah, healing stem. Just so you can have a rechargeable form of healing at all times. I quite like it. I like its addition. And it's also another now form of loot, essentially. So I'll show you here, because it has properties. You know, tank on use. Reduces damage taken by 50% for 8 seconds. That's really good. So there's another aspect that you can, like, go looking for and, like, build your character with and stuff. You know, just this, like, not a constant effect, but you use it and gain, like, a temporary effect, which is nice. Also, grenades, rechargeable now. You don't have to find ammo for them. I feel like this balances the grenades a lot better. I will say I haven't found a way to actually increase how many grenades that I can have at once yet. Or that I can hold, you know, without needing to recharge. Maybe 2 will be the max, I don't know. There's a new shield. Actually, I'll keep my shield, because you may have noticed in the bottom left, my shield icon is yellow instead of the normal blue. There is a different type of shield, and it's armor. It's not a shield, it's armor. So it made me realize how kind of funny it was that the armor is like a key component of the game in terms of like certain enemies requiring corrosive damage to kill, that sort of stuff. And we never really got to access that, even though enemies would have corrosive weapons sometimes. So now that actually like plays in, that sort of ties a neat little bow on that plot hole, I guess. I don't know, you wouldn't really call it a gameplay hole. But yeah, so it works a little bit different. It's in like chunks instead of just one overall segment. And it's always recharging. So if I lose one of those chunks, it'll start recharging and instantly fill it, even if I'm being shot. And then obviously there's going to be like different effects. So like I found one... Where'd it go? I found one shield that was like, when you lose one of your segments of armor, has a chance to, you know, summon a little, like, booster that would give you that segment back. You know, that sort of stuff. So there's going to be different elements of the shields at work here and stuff like that. So it feels like they've just added a lot more variety to familiar aspects of the game, which is quite nice. The game world itself feels bigger, and the gameplay elements themselves feel bigger. There's also like sliding. That's always fun. It's also this is a small thing, but I just really enjoy it. The sliding is now based on actual like the slope that you're sliding on. I believe in Borderlands 3 it was just here's a slide and it's a set distance and that's it. Whereas now if I slide down here, I'll slide the whole way down instead of just, you know, for like 2 seconds and stop. If I can actually do it, I'll slide the whole way. Whee! Yeah, so that's fun. We like that. There's also a double jump. And also like a little jetpack. So it feels like it took that from kind of like the pre-sequel kind of era, and we're like, yeah, some people like that sort of thing, so we'll put that in, you know, no harm in not doing it. It has been used for some like platforming segments and stuff, so a lot more verticality. Even though the other games definitely didn't feel like they were kind of missing verticality, but a lot more of it in this one with the grapple hook and double jump and zipping around. Not quite as much as pre-sequel. I think pre-sequel is going to hold that title just with the, moon gravity and stuff like that. Oh, this is actually what I need to fight for that contract. One nice thing about the contracts is you don't have to actually go back and hand them in. They're just, you kill the things and they're done, which is definitely makes me feel like they were added in just for stuff to do in an open world. Like I said, I don't really feel like they needed them. One other big change I'm actually going to talk about here now is grenades and heavy ordnance weapons now share a slot. So before, you would just have a rocket launcher and you would just have to equip it in one of your weapon slots, and if you're anything like me, or I believe most of the Borderlands sort of community, you would either use it once or twice, never really again, and then take it off your slot, and then never have a rocket launcher, because the ammunition was always so scarce. Or you would get a rocket launcher that is the best one in the game, like the Galahorn. Was it the Galahorn? That's Destiny I'm thinking of, I think. I'm pretty sure there was a rocket launcher in Borderlands 2 that was just absurdly strong, and people just used it all the time. So it felt like you were either never using them or exclusively using them. This system adds them to the grenade slot and makes them rechargeable. They effectively have infinite ammo, but with a recharge. And it's not just rocket launchers as well. So this one here is a rocket launcher, but this one here is a giant minigun with 2 barrels, I believe. So you can see down there on the bottom, I've got my skill on the left, and on the right is where the grenades were, but now that is the heavy weapon, heavy ordnance weapon. So it recharges. I can hit G, pull out this big minigun, and I can shred something for a bit. Now this one, I don't think is quite that strong. I got it a while ago, so it's not the best thing in the world. But I really like this system. I think this balances that aspect of the game really nicely. However, I will have to wait and see what happens whenever I get a grenade and a heavy ordnance weapon that I both really want to use, because now that aspect has kind of been taken away. But I think that balances it really nice. Oh my god, you're kicking my ass. You gotta use my stim. I keep forgetting. Enemy variety's been pretty good so far. The new order enemies, they're kind of like the... I always compare the sort of main antagonist enemy types to the loaders from Borderlands 2, because they were just so much fun to fight. Just shooting off the legs, shooting off the arms. They were so dynamic, so much fun to fight. And they're not quite there. They're not quite there. There's good variety, but they're not quite as fun to fight as those loaders were. I think Borderlands 2 had just the best enemy variety they've ever done. This hasn't been bad so far, though. Lots of creatures, lots of humanoid enemies so far. Excited to see if that sort of keeps up or that kind of fizzles out. Especially with an open world, you want some good enemy variety for sure. Now, story-wise, like I was sort of saying, this is the most hands-off Borderlands has ever felt. The intro was very handholdy and very railroady, as you would imagine with any Borderlands game. However, it was also the shortest of all of them. I was into the main gameplay loop of this game far faster than any other one. And it feels a bit unfair to say it, because this being open world, I can kind of just go wherever and do whatever, but that is one of the benefits of it being open world, is that they can just kind of let you go a bit faster, I feel like, They can kind of just get you introduced and then go hey, off you go. If you find an area that's maybe a bit too hard, if you stray too far. Oh, why am I not shooting? What's going on here? There we go. Oh, fight for your life. That's back again, as you might imagine. Usual stuff. Kill an enemy. Come back. What was I saying? Yes, the fastest I've ever been sort of let go into the main gameplay loop. Where it doesn't feel like I am restricted in any real way. Like, Borderlands 3, you got into, You weren't being handheld by story stuff quite as fast, or quite as long, compared to other Borderlands. But it still felt like a bunch of the gameplay stuff, like extra backpack slots and all that sort of stuff, were still restricted from you until you did a lot more story stuff. Whereas this one, it's just go, it's now on you to just... If you want that sort of thing, go out there and get it. It's over there, it's on the map, go get it. And that aspect of this open world, I like a lot. Because we're just into the loop of looting and shooting, which is, what you're here to do when you play Borderlands. Story-wise, it's definitely not as prominent. Just as a side effect of getting into the gameplay loop so fast. It just can't be. Chew up. You can have a Spectre. There you go. Have that. They're very strong. I love the Spectres. Yeah, so far the story hasn't really ramped up for me a lot yet. We sort of broke out of the starting area. And then, you know, we're kind of told, hey, go find people and help them, and we're gonna make a resistance, I guess. And Claptrap's there, because of course he is. So I'll have to see what happens more with the story before I would say, like, hey, the story seems like, you know, good. Like, are we talking like a Borderlands 2 kind of story experience where, you know, it's not revolutionary, but it was just fun. You know, it was a good time. It was a good backdrop to, or it was a good train to put the gameplay on, you know? Whereas this one, it feels like the train is the gameplay. Which maybe seems like a bit of a weird thing to say. Hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down when I say that sort of thing. Oh, here's a chest. I love that. What we got? Little Jacob sniper rifle. Does a lot of damage, but... Got like a Maliwan sniper rifle here. Shoots out like little orbs. This is actually the first time I've used a Maliwan sniper, so they're a little bit different in this one. They've never really done sniper rifles quite as well since Borderlands 2. Those were the most satisfying sniper rifles they have ever done, by far. There is a very nice sort of crit effect whenever you headshot people in this game. Whenever they die. Quite punchy. Yeah, lots of movement. You can do the ground pound, you know, so you can like grapple up somewhere if there's an area for it, and like jump down, do the ground pound, and those moments are cool. It's just I wish the grapple was more freeform, so I could create those moments myself, you know, rather than relying on the game to sort of provide them. But it would make the open world a lot harder to create with that in mind. I do understand that aspect of it for sure. Oh, hello. Badass rat-a-tat. Alright, you can have a few of them. Pull out the minigun. Simple. Alright, so Vex, her Spectres sort of attuned to whatever element you're currently holding, so I had radiation when I spawned them, so they're radiation ones. That's nice. All the characters look fun as well. I remember when Borderlands 3 was coming out, I wasn't really too fussed about two of the characters. It felt like there was two of them I liked and two of them I didn't. All four in this one look quite interesting. Although I will say, Borderlands 3 was definitely a book by the cover, judging a book by the cover type thing. So I remember thinking Zane looked really like whatever in Borderlands 3, and then he turned out to be like my favorite character to play, so that's just how it be. Just be like that sometimes. Couple of half horns will get rid of you. The sniper rifle feels very fun to use. Kind of interesting that the Maliwan snipers are kind of like this orb that kind of sticks and explodes later. Feels a bit weird for a sniper, but we'll take it. You know, it's fun, it's strong, it's effective. You'll also see on the right, there's just little challenges just popping up like 24/7. You do anything in this game and you will get something for it. But I mean, that's no stranger to Borderlands. That's always sort of been a thing. Just feels like it's popping up more. In terms of bosses now, actually, just had a thought there. Bosses have been quite good. A couple of them have sort of been your standard Borderlands affair, like just big psycho with a big axe sort of thing, and it's whatever. It was not too hard, but it's fine. It looked fun. The music was good. Now, with this game being open world, it has world bosses, which was really interesting. I didn't know it was going to have. So sometimes when you're walking around, you'll see this big dome up here. And if you go into it, there'll be a world boss in there. And you can choose to fight them. And they are hard fights. You know, they're not easy fights. Quite lengthy. Or at least the one I did was. They've appeared a few times. One of them I tested to see if you just walk in and walk out, does it despawn? And it does. So if you go in the dome, you are committed to the fight. If you leave the fight, then that's the fight's over. You lose, kind of thing. But those were fun. Cool. That's a cool addition. That's one of those things that makes the open world like a good choice. I like that. I imagine that'll probably be part of their live service of this game as well. They'll probably just add like loads of stuff like that. Even though I kind of gonna show a little bit of my bias. I kind of hate live service stuff. It just always feels so artificial to get you like keep playing. You know, like weekly. Oh, you gotta get on the game now, or you'll miss it. Like that sort of stuff. Like in principle, I just dislike. I feel like they definitely could. You know, these live service games definitely could get away. Oh, here's a new thing I've never seen before. So apparently I'm hacking this. But yeah, I do feel like these live service games could get away with, you know, doing these big sort of constant release stuff as smaller or less frequent, but paid sort of stuff. You know, so like little expansion packs, little DLCs. The way it kind of used to be done, to be honest. Like, even Borderlands 2, like, that's kind of the way it was done, you know? And I'm sure they will have their big DLCs. But it's like, I wish these sorts of things would tone down how often they bring this sort of thing out. And then sort of like, you can pay like a small amount and sort of get access to it or something like that. You know, I wish that would be the preferred way to do it. Although, it seems like they're doing their live service content stuff, like, for free, so... I mean, if that's the way they're gonna do it, I mean, if it's all gonna be free, then hell yeah. I won't really complain about that all too often, but that's mainly just a presumption on my part. Just live service fatigue, you know. Battle passes and all that, you know, like, oh, you have to do it now, you have to do it now, or you'll miss it. Because I'm the sort of person that, if I'm playing a game and it's live service, and there's stuff in it that I want to, like, keep up with, as soon as I miss one thing, I am, like, so disincentivized to, or so disinterested in keeping up after that. This might actually be my first death. I can't see anyone. What? Yeah, it's gonna be my first death. No! But yeah, death is always the same. As it has been in all the other Borderlands games. You just sort of respawn, pay a certain percentage of your money. Yeah, no new U station. It's I forget what they called it. I forget what they called the new, like, respawn station, but it's not new U station because that was like a Hyperion thing, and now obviously, like, Hyperion isn't here because there's a new planet. It's on Kairos instead of Pandora this time. This is a cool part about the open world. You do just get, like, random civilians and random different factions and groups and wildlife and all, just, like, sort of fighting each other. It's really fun. That's always, like... I feel like that's a pretty simple way to make an open world feel more alive. And it's always a shame when games don't do it, so I'm glad to see it here. Just random, like, fights between different factions going on. Yeah, man, this feels so much nicer in full screen than it does in Borderless, for sure. You are a big boy with a rotating shield. The recoil on this thing is nuts. His health is nuts. I actually got challenged for killing these guys specifically. I haven't actually, There's an enemy that's kind of similar, has like the rotating shield, but I guess it wasn't these guys. Oh, it looks like I can use my grapple on his shield. So they're using the grapple quite a bit for just random different things. Sometimes they use it for a bit of puzzle solving and stuff. Nothing too crazy, but... This guy has a lot of health. There we go. My feelings are so strong, he said. So yeah, the humor, that's a big one. The humor has definitely been toned down. There's less references to real world stuff, essentially, you know. No, I maintain, I said this whenever I streamed this on launch there, that if Borderlands 3 did not get the backlash that it did about its humor, we definitely would have saw a gun in this game called, like, the Hawk Tua. Like, 100%. Like, that just would have been a thing. So I can only thank that we're not in that current timeline. But the humor's been more in-world, which is good. Still like the sort of somewhat similar writing of like Borderlands 3, that sort of thing. So I haven't really found any of the writing grating. Like it's not, I'm not listening to it going like, wow, this sucks, I hate that. But it's like some of it just doesn't do anything for me, you know? Like I'm listening to it and I hear the fact that they just made a joke and it's like, yeah, that wasn't for me, but you know, I'm sure it'll be for someone. So yeah, that's definitely a big step up from Borderlands 3, where every time like Tyrene and stuff like that was speaking, it was like, can I skip this now? Can we be done? But also there is in this game less of being forced to sit there and wait for characters to do their whole big conversation spiel, so that's just sort of a big improvement all around. But yeah, I think that's really all I wanted to talk about. Game so far, really, really good. Gameplay-wise, really, really good. Story-wise, taking a back seat a bit, but we'll have to see how that goes as I have to see how that goes as the game sort of goes on. Obviously, first impressions and all that. The audio, the music's actually pretty good. Combat music, very fun. Reminds me a lot more of Borderlands 2, where the combat music's a lot more like pronounced and involved with the actual what's going on. Essentially, it feels like trailer music that they just put in the game, which is a compliment. A lot of the time, trailer music is kind of a lot louder, a lot bigger, and then once it's in the game, it's a lot more subdued, you know, because they don't want it to like overtake what you're actually doing. Whereas in this one, it just, yeah, I like it. All there really is to it. I like it more. Yeah, been having a good time. I'm excited to see sort of how this continues to go. I will be streaming it, so if you would like to see my live first impressions when I actually played the game for that 7 hours that I'm basing this video's first impressions on, you can find the VOD on this very channel itself. I stream no real schedule, just as and when new games when they interest me. But I'll definitely be streaming more of this for sure. I'll probably stream after this video goes up, to be honest. But yeah, that's Borderlands 4. You can pick it up for £59.99 or $69.99. It's pretty much out on all the relevant platforms. And I've been having a good time with it. It's looter shooter. It's a good time. It seems like there's a lot more things just to do and go gear up, and yeah. If you like the other Borderlands, you like this, but just be wary of those performance issues that are going on. You may run into more issues than I've been dealing with. The Steam review page right now is not pleasant to the game, so keep that in mind. Yeah, that's been my What's This In for Borderlands 4. Catch you on the next one. Goodbye.